So I'll assume we all are beginners and then we start from scratch about wafer papers, okay? So wafer paper is a starch-based paper and they are available in the baking supplies stores. And one vendor that I know of, Om Craft in Mumbai, they have this, okay? And there are like two different sheets. One is the thin sheet, which is this one. And then there is a thick sheet as well. Thick sheets we don't use for making flowers. So when you're buying wafer paper, just make sure it's like quite thin and then a little flexible like this. And so these are just papers, okay? And we are going to get the petals. Wafer paper lily is what we're going to do. Get the shape. You're just going to first cut it and then change the shape of it to hold this way. And then we'll be making 6 petals. And then there are some centers that we will make and put them together. Like we'll tape them together to make one wafer paper lily. So I'm just going to show how you're going to color this and also this is a starch based, yeah.
I mean, online, right? Like they have a size. How do we know?
I think it should be like the grade 1. I am not very sure on the Amazon side of what you're going to get, depending on what brand that is. It'll be better if you get it from the baking supply store. You could check with the Om Craft. He could ship it to you. He's based in Mumbai, and the ones that he has should be something like this. Okay, and in Amazon you will get pack of hundreds, and so much we may not be using it also. But with the baking supply vendors, you could just get like 5 papers or 10 papers, based on which you'll be able to make quite a good number of flowers. So I'll be showing you also the centers and all. And because this is a starch-based paper, once you put any liquid into it, it's going to absorb and then it's just going to become, shrink and then lose its shape. But then without adding moisture into it, we can't change the shape of it also. So I'm going to use the liquid on this and then immediately try and get the liquid out. So then we will be able to retain the shape of how we want it to dry. Okay, so sugar flowers, you guys have tried? Yes or no? So there are cutters and veiners available. All this you could also find in our local baking supply stores in Chennai as well. However, this also is from Om Craft. That's the cutter of the lily. Now you don't need a cutter, but a veiner will be useful because we have veined the wafer petals as well. And that will give a little more realistic look. Otherwise, this texture, like the plain one, is what is going to be retained. It is okay to not vein also. If you do not have a veiner, you can skip the veining step that I will be doing. Cutter, because I'm going to show how you could get a petal out of a cutter that you have. If you do not have a cutter, then you could just download a template in Google. Like you could just go and Google for lily flower template. And then you have an image. And you could also just be a little more, with the extra detailing, you could find the size of it. Is it like 4 inches or 3 inches? What is the length? Because when you get the template and you look at that image in your mobile, then maybe it looks very small. So you could just maybe zoom in to get the actual size. And then you could just trace it by keeping a paper on top of your device also, that is fine. Or you could print it and cut it and use that also as a template. So first thing is we need a template. Okay, so I'm going to use the cutter. If at all you have the cutter itself, then it starts something like this. You have a marker. And then go on around, and then that's a OHP sheet. You could also use a chart paper if you don't find this OHP sheet. So I'm just going to go around. And cut the template first. So now once I have the template, I'll just place it on one side of the wafer paper like so. And then use my scissors and then cut through an entire strip to the width of this template. And then again cut it to the size. And then placing that one size of the wafer paper. So I'll be needing 6. So keeping the same one as the template. Now you could just keep 3 of the sheets together, because having, like, say maybe you need, like, you're going to make 3 lilies, and so you will need 6 petals is for 1 plus, so 18. So keeping 18 papers together and cutting will not give you a proper cut. Like maybe go with 3 or 4 at the max. So I've stacked 3 of the cutout wafer paper, and I'm placing this template on top of it. So 6 petals are there, and these strips you don't have to throw. You could just keep it with you, and times when you could use them for making textured fondant and all. But if that's like too much at the moment for you to understand, the basic that you can use is to put all this paper as it is in your food processor, the small jar mixie, and then just run without adding anything, and then they'll come out like smaller bits, and that you could use it like a snow on maybe an igloo cake or anywhere that you could just use it. And when you're powdering this in the mixie, if in case you're just wanting to have like a grass or something, then add some green gel into the food processor, I mean the mixie thing, and then grind it, and then you will get like the small bits in green color, and that you could use it as grass. And that's just an idea to not waste these bits, so you will save them and then use it for later. Now we are going to wire the flower petals. Okay, so the size of the wires, of floral wires, are available in craft shops as well, and baking supply stores are also having this. So they come in gauge. Okay, there are numbers. So this one is a 26 gauge wire that we will be using, because it's a very delicate and not so heavy petal, and the number increases and the thickness of the wire decreases. So this is 26, and then a 28, 30 and all will be even thinner than this. And numbers that are this is also the same. Numbers like 24, 22, and then 18 all will be thicker. So thicker ones we'll be using for like a very stronger center-based flowers. So individual petals like this, 26G should be fine, which you will just purchase. So wires are definitely essential. Now I'm just going to cut. So this is how it comes in the pack. Now I'm just going to cut them into half. And this wire has to be attached to this petal like that. So I need another strip of the wafer paper itself to come on top of that. So I could stick this wire on this petal. So to get that strip, I'm going to cut the wafer paper itself. And how long my wire can be on the wafer paper. Okay, so this much of the wire I feel will be good. Okay, so then let me just measure the length of the strip that I would want to place. Just about in here. So I'm just checking for the length of the wire, how much I need. And then based on that, I'm measuring the strip. And then I will need 6 such strips. So I have the strips, I have the petals. So one wire. So for one petal, all you need will be something like this, the petal, the wire and the strip to attach the wire to the petal. Okay. So the next thing is the recipe that is there on my name is called the Wafer Paper Potion, right? So use that ingredients and they're all liquid form and you'll mix them together. And now when I mix them together, you have a clear liquid. There's no color in that. And now, how could you color wafer paper? Now, this technique is not just for lily, but in general, you have to think about other ways of using the idea. So there comes the place where we are going to add color to this potion, wafer paper potion. I've already gel colors, liquid colors, powder colors, anything will work. So in this, the pink gel color has already been mixed. Fuchsia color, Americolor gel has been mixed. So when you mix the color into the potion, then that portion all becomes that color. Now, if you want 2 different colors, like you're making leaves also, then you will add green into that portion, and then you will just color up. Now, if you notice this petal, there is like the darker pink in the middle, and then there is lighter. Basically, I try to do white on the outside, which is to retain the original color of the wafer paper, which is white. And so for the outer edges, I'm going to use the clear portion. And for the center bit, I'm going to use the pink portion. Okay, so I'm going to use both of them. And I need 2 different brushes. So one for the pink and one for the clear. And I'm going to use a foam pad for this because I'm going to place the wafer paper petal on the foam pad. And I'm going to brush them with this liquid. Now, when I'm going to brush them with liquid, when you're going to peel, it could stick to that surface. Now, because this is the foam pad, we'll be able to just flip this out also. Now, if you're going to use like your counter or your craft mat, which is not flexible, then it could be difficult to just peel it off and not take the help of the foam pad, which could just bend for you. So I'm placing the petal over in here. And because in the center, I need pink, I'm going to dip the brush in the pink colored portion. And I'm going to brush. Sahana, color is not enough. Fuchsia gel color. The moment you apply water, it will just start shrinking, which you can actually see. So when you mix color, it's like the gel color added into the potion. You just kind of get it mixed. And we don't have a lot of time after adding the potion, because once the moisture, the water or anything liquid goes onto the wafer paper, then it just starts absorbing that and it just gets sticky. So I also need corn flour right after I've applied the water, and then that's a makeup brush. So I'll keep that also handy. So let me check the color now. So in the middle, I'm applying the potion and I'm placing the wire and I'm placing the strip on the top. And once I apply the potion again on top of the strip, I'll use my fingers and then press. And the wire is attached and now my coloring will start. So only in the middle, I just need the pink. Now on the outside, I just need white. But without the potion, you cannot make the wafer petal soft. So the clear liquid, I'm going to apply on the sides. And right after putting this liquid, I'll get the makeup brush, dip it in the corn flour, remove excess, and then go on and dab that corn flour all over the petal. And then dust the excess out. Okay. And I'm going to dust it out of the petal as well. Remove the excess corn flour from the petal. And I'm just going to get this petal out of the board. And the other side also you need the color. So I'm going to place it upside down and go on. Do the same color in the middle, pink. And then on the outside, just the clear. And then immediately dab the corn flour. Dust the excess out. So these are steps you just cannot miss. So you could just keep them in mind when you're going to do that. And now get the petal. And now you can see the way this paper is behaving, and then this paper is, and then this becomes like a cloth at the stage. So when you know that when you apply the potion and then you dust it out with corn flour, it just becomes like a flexible cloth, like a thing. So anywhere where you could use this idea. Maybe you can make pleats, you can make bows, or like making a sari themed, or like you're making a figurine for which you need to do a sari where it just is like a cloth and extremely thin, right? Instead of like rolling a fondant and then making a sari out of it, then you could just get a sheet of wafer paper and whatever color sari you could just want to put it on a girl or a female topper, then just color it, color the potion, just brush the entire wafer paper with that color, corn flour. And then when you take it out, it will be a flexible sheet like that. And then you can pleat and then do your dress, even for the frocks, right? All around, you can just go on and then start pleating. Use the glue around on the figurine and then keep pleating out, and then you will have a nice frock around it. So this is just not for the flower. We only understood that onto the wafer paper, when you apply the potion by coloring or not coloring, once you have that liquid there and then you dabbed corn flour and then remove all the excess corn flour, it immediately becomes like this. And from there on, it is up to you to use how you want it to be used. Now, coming to the flower, every flower's petals take a shape. Some are like cupped like that, like a peony, and some like think of maybe a hibiscus. That is easier for us to relate to. We keep seeing it everywhere. So hibiscus, the petal is like, you know, it just bends on the outside rather than a flower which is cupped towards the inside. The hibiscus opens out. Now the lily is also something like that, which opens out. Now I want to find an object where my petal takes the shape that is relative to the flower I'm making. Now, if I am going to make a peony, then maybe I will need an apple carton or an egg carton where this particular petal will go and then sit there to take that particular cup's shape. Now, this one cannot be like lying around like there and being very flat, because the shape I need for this particular flower looks something like this. Now, when you Google for a wafer, or not a wafer paper, just a water lily or a stargazer lily types, then what you will find out there, look for the petal and what is the shape that it has taken in the natural form. Now we have to find ways to figure out and dry that in that particular shape. Now for me to take that particular shape, I'm going to use this rolling pin and I'm going to place this. Now when I place it there, my wire is very straight, right? Now the petal also should take the shape and for which the wire has to be bent, so the wire also curves. Now when I'm going to place this petal over there, I'm going to carefully hold the center because it could anytime tear that paper. And now this particular wire, I just need to bend. Now this is very stiff for me, right? This wire part. Here using this finger, I'm holding on the part which is like sharp and I'm trying to tear up the petal anytime. And then here I'm just going to bend this wire. And that bending is very important for you to allow it to take the shape. Now if this was quite straight, then it will just not allow you to bend and take that shape. Now let me just adjust. Okay, so this is going to get drying like that. And in 4 hours, maybe it will just hold on and then become like a stiff. Once the liquid all evaporates, right? Now there is liquid, but it's just not extremely wet because of the corn flour. But once it's dried completely, then this is what you will get. Okay, so you will need 6 such petals. I'm not going to do the repeat steps. So because I have already made to save the time. So this will go on to drying. And this, because we are using the liquid, this will get messy, but you can just wash it out and then for using it for the next time. You could also use it for things that are not wet, like for your regular ruffling and all that. Well, it doesn't matter. You could just mess that and then get back to washing that and then using that back again. So your petals are made that way. With that, you've learned how to color the wafer paper, make it flexible using the potion and corn flour. So that is the the major trick for making the wafer paper flexible, using which you could do any kind of flour. The drying method will change based on what flour you're making. Okay. Now there are centers. So center. So there is one center, and then there are 6 different stamens. So I've just made them for peonies. Basically, they are available stamens. Okay. So this is one of the center, and then the tip looks like this, and it's like a very tall stalk that is there. I'm going to show how I've made this, and then 6 of this. I'll make a show 1, and I've already pre-made the ones that I'll be using for the flower. Okay. So first let me make this one, which is the centermost. So for which I'll be needing gum paste. Or in case it's like a very thin one, you could also use fondant mixed with CMC, just in case you don't have to make gum paste just for this specific thing, because it's like not too much. So instead of just the fondant, maybe you could just mix CMC or Tylose with fondant and then go on. So let me just take out the gum paste, knead that and make it soft. So anytime you take gum paste or fondant out of a wrapped thing, it's better to just knead it and to make it soft. So the first thing, I'll just make a J hook. I'm bending this wire and then I'm making a J hook. I'm going to take like a little bigger than a peppercorn or a pea-sized, right? And I'm going to pinch this, start from the bottom of this wire, pinch it from either sides, and then keep twisting this, working on like a sausage, but I want it like quite thin. And go on till the tip of the J hook that was made. I want that pretty even. Okay, and in this tip, I'm going to press and then flatten that out. So I want the stalk part pretty thin, and then I want the tip to be rounded and then a bit flat. So this is what I'm looking at. And here I want it even. So I'm just rolling it between my palms and then making it even around. Okay, so a flat like a nail thing, right, at the moment. Tweezer. Then I'm going to just clip in 3 places. Okay, so I just want like a flower with 3 cuts. So I'm going to use the tweezer, press it once first, like so. So that is my first pinch. And then I'm going to do 2 more. So space them equally. Press the second one. I'm going on to the length of the stalk that was made, not just on the top. And then the third one also, I'm just going to pinch using a tweezer. You can still work on here. So that will be the centermost filament for the lily. Okay. So this one is made and you want it to dry 3-4 hours at least. And now for the other one, the stem is 6 around. So I'm just going to make something like this. Okay. So for which again, I'm going to use gum paste. Pinching about like a peppercorn sized of the gum paste. Same process, press it from the bottom and keep twisting. And go all the way to the top. And you want it quite thin. Okay, so you just keep twisting it and get it as thin as you would like. And if there is excess that is gotten longer than the tip of the wire, remove that off. You don't need that. You just need it till the tip of the wire. Okay, so first this one is made and then you just need like a very long rice shape which will be made and then stuck on top of that. So for which I'm going to take like a very tiny bit of gum paste in my palms. I'm making it narrow on either side. In case I feel like, that is too long, I could cut that and still work on the other end to make it narrow. Craft knife. And I'm going to make a line here, okay? So first the rice, let me make it a little thicker. Start again. Making it pointy on either ends. Okay, and then use the craft knife, and then I'm going to make not a cut, but like a cut like mark. I'm not cutting that into half. Okay, so I've just got it in the middle, and I'm going to pick it up. And so what you have here is a rice shape with a cut line in between. Okay, and now I could use glue, but then yeah, potion also has water. Even water would just do. So I'm going to use the potion. Here, potion is not necessary. Just because you're working with wafer paper, I have the potion. Now I'm just going to dip this tip just a little bit, drip of excess. I'm going to put the cut side at the bottom. The non-cut side is where I'm going to use this filament and then just attach it. So now this sticks there, and then on the top you have the cut side. I'm going to bend this just a little bit so it doesn't stand straight, but then it just has a mild curve. Okay, so that's how it looks with a cut on the top. And now this I will later on curve it a bit of how I want it around the flower. So now this one is made. I want that to dry. Do we have one more white that is dried? This one, the one I just made. Because you want that glue to stick that top rice part. So I've pre-made a few. Now, so we have the center made and 6 of the stamens made, right? And now we want to color that. So if dusting is also new to you, then there are petal dusts that are available in the market in different colors, and they are dry powders. You could use them to kind of do dry dusting. Say maybe you're making a figurine and then you would want to add some blush to the figurine, and instead of using the gel colors, they are like very patchy and too strong. So for very mild shades, you can do dry dusting wherever you want. Okay, so that is like the other usage of the petal dusts. Basically, they are used for dusting sugar flowers and all. And so sugar flowers is nothing but gum paste flowers. So this center, I'm going to pick up. And this I'm just going to make all green. So the powder colors look like that. I use aluminum foil because there's no wastage. Once the color goes in and it's just all green, then you can put it back into that. Some prefer using tissue papers to put the colors on, but then the tissue absorbs a lot of color and we have wastage there. So foil, and use a brush and then go on and then dust on top of the white. Okay, so this has gotten the green color. You could do dual shades if you want to add in some extra detailing. You could just go on and then give some browns or darker greens. You can play around with 2-3 different shades also. So the center part for this, it is done, right? And the other center that we made, this is the dried one. The one that I made is just curved and left there. So this is the one that I'm going to use to dust. So the bottom, the stalk part is all going to be green like the other one. Only that rice thing, I'm going to make it pink color. But that's like stuck with just one single point. So I don't want to use my brush to go on and then dust it, because maybe if it breaks now, it's already dried up, right? So it could just break unless you have extras to go on and then risk it. Otherwise, just open up the petal dust box and then dip this inside just till the rice part gets covered, and just tap the excess petal dust, and then you have the tip of it colored pink in color. So you have the green and stalk, and then you have the pink on the tip. So even so, the same idea, where else can you use? Like if you're having berries and then you want to color the berries, and if your berries are quite small, just go on and then dip your berries quickly in the petal dust, and then you'll have your berries also colored up. So my center, and then I need 6 such stamens. So how many petals do we need for a lily? 6 petals. And how many of these do we need? These are the stamens. 6 such stamens. And how many of this do we need? 1. So we have all of them. And one last thing that I need to do is there are 5 here, and 1 I haven't done the dot part. I want that petal without the dot part. So the Stargazer lily, we have to be just like be very botanically right. And at times it's like quite difficult to get the wafer paper, at least for me, to be very botanically right. Not this, without the dots. Okay, so once you are taking it out of the rolling pin, now this is what you will have. The color, and then it's just holding the shape. Okay, but it's still like a bit flexible, but it will hold the shape. Now this is what I have that you will get out of the rolling pin once it's dried. I've just made some dots. Okay, so we just paint on top. Adding too much water on a dried wafer paper also, it could change the shape a bit. So what I'm going to do, color and make the dots. So I have a paint palette. I'm going to use a brown gel. Don't need too much. And a little bit of vodka or non-alcoholic substitute will be Evaporex from the Fab brand. That's also available in most of the baking supply stores. So I'm going to touch, it's already been colored, and use that brush. You don't need to add too much the liquid, whatever that is. If it is alcohol, then vodka. Non-alcohol, then Evaporex. Just take a very pointy small brush. Size of this is 000. Okay, so I'm just going to go on and then paint some dots. Just put them random. You don't need to put like, on like straight lines. So I'm just going to go on, and then too much vodka will also just have the dots spreading out. So I just don't need to mix up too much vodka also. So what this technique or the tip mean is that once you have dried your wafer paper in any form, not just this petal, you are allowed to go on and then do a little bit of painting. Say, suppose you're making a cloth for a frock for a doll cake or something. Now, once you have the frock pleated out, you can go on and then paint tiny flowers or tiny hearts in that particular thing. So that is what is the takeaway from this small dot painting on this wafer paper lily's petal, right? So you're still allowed, even after it's dried, you're still allowed to go on and then do bit of painting, but not too much of vodka or liquid in any form. A little bit of this, it's just not straight gel also. I have added some form of vodka, which means little bit of liquid is okay, but not too much. Okay, so making the dots around for the Stargazer lily. So I have like say 6 petals shaped, colored, and then even painted on top. I have 1 center, and then I have 6 stamens also. And now I need a floral tape. Floral tape, if you're new to that, then they are available in craft shops as well, and they get activated to stick around only when you stretch. Now this is like darker shade, right? Now when I stretch this, you can see the color changes, and then you can see the darker green here. And as you're taping around, you need to keep stretching this to go on. And so you have the tape sticking to itself and then also attaching all the petals together. Now that is my center, okay? And I'm going to bend all of this, just starting from here, not just here, right? I'm just going to start because I want them to be, so this is the straight one, okay? And now I'm just going to bend that a bit, all of them. So they are like not too straight, otherwise it will look a bit artificial. Just to make them look natural, a bit of bending is needed. And for this also, I'm going to bend just a little bit. Okay, so that will be my center. Then start with a wire at the bottom like that, and then first tape it around. For taping, I'm going to use these two fingers and then stretch. And when I'm stretching, I'm going to use my index and thumb of my left hand and hold this together tight, and using this again thumb and index of my right hand, and then stretch and not let this pull apart. Okay, and now these come, and now these stamens have to be shorter than the center. Okay, so I'm just going to lower the height a bit. This much height difference has to be there. The center one has to be taller. Now each of them, I want to tape it around, or otherwise they will get loose. And depending on how much pressure you're putting, it could just break. And if it breaks, start over. Okay, now let me do 6 around. So this curve thing, I'm just going to keep it facing outside like that. Okay, and tape each of them around one by one. And if it breaks, we could make that rice part and then stick it. Let me show how we could just fix in case it breaks. You want 6 around. So I'm making place for all the 6 to come. Okay, so then I'm going to start taping. Now this is the petal that comes out right after drying. So from the rolling pin like that, when you take it out, you're just going to have something like this. Now this needs to be attached here. So what I need to do is to, let me just place this down. So that's right after coming out of the rolling pin like that. Now what I'm going to do, hold this here and then bend this wire. And this I could just bend and then take it up little later also. So now you could just see the difference of this wire. So now the petal is here. Now this is the original position of the wire, right? Which I've just bent like that. So then my taping becomes easier. So all the petals, now I'll just bend it here without changing the shape of the petal. So they are like this. I will bend it down. So this will apply for all the petals irrespective of whatever shape you are drying them. And now once this bending of the petal is done, I'll start attaching just where the stamens have been taped. So I will go around. For each petal, I will hold the tape tight and then I'll keep stretching. You can see the colors changing because I'm stretching after each round or during or before each round as well. Now the second one will go. You'll first do a 3 and then do the 3 just below the first layer. Here, I still have the scope to move them and change the position. So done with 3. And then the next 3 I'll do in between the 3s that I've got taped now. Fourth one. This is the 5th one. I have one more to go. In the last one, I'm going to tape in between the first and the second one. So now once I've taped all the 6, and now I have all the wires together here, right? Now I need to get the tape. As long as I was here, I was just going on in a straight line around, taping in the same place. Now once I have to tape all of them together, now I'll just change the angle in which I'm holding this stretch, and then using these 2 fingers is important. Putting all the wires together, and then it just becomes one stem, a thicker one, depending on how many wires you have used. And now let me adjust. I still have the scope to move the petals and then change where I'm going to place them. Okay, so we have the lily. This one sometimes may not be enough for the cake. It's just to understand how to make one. Maybe like a 3, 4 together and some leaves and some berries and all will just be really good on wedding cakes or engagement cakes. Even a single tier cake, you could just go on and then use this to poke on your cake, and it goes on any cake, because too much moisture is like not very good for the wafer paper. But it will also go on whipping cream cakes also, right? So in your ganached cake also, it's not that these flowers are meant only for fondant cakes. They'll go on ganache cakes. You can use them on ganache cakes or buttercream or fresh cream, or as well on fondant also. Okay. So any doubts? Room temperature, nothing will happen. No humidity. Like it's not like the sugar flowers. And if to just keep it dust free, right? You could just put it on a airtight box and then keep it just locked, not even airtight. Just keep it covered, and it'll just stay good for like really longer time. Okay. Glycerine, edible glycerine is quite easy these days. Any baking supply store is having that. Even like homemade fondant used to have that ingredient long back. Now I don't know how many really make fondant anymore. But yeah, glycerine even in small packs, like the Baker's Village also has small packs are there. Like, you know, before at least it used to be like a liter that we have to buy. These days smaller ones are available. And then this portion is like a really beautiful thing to make your wafer papers flexible and then go on and use it in a lot of different other ways. Like maybe you're making like a gift box cake, right? And then there is a lid that comes. And usually it's like we roll the fondant and then fold them to stuff, like there is the gift wrapper papers that are there. And that's when you could just use this wafer paper. You don't even have to color. Then just mix a portion like 5 minutes, just paint the entire wafer paper and then dust with corn flour. Then there is a sheet, a cloth, and then you could just fold it and then stuff it wherever you need to make it look like there is paper, make it look like there is cloth. Everywhere this portion and the corn flour logic is like the best that, we could just use it from this logic. And the next thing is to color the wafer paper. I think I missed veining, right?
I thought you don't have a vein for this.
No, I actually had the vein. I said most of it is vein, only this one is not vein. So the veining step comes after the corn flour has been done, right? After the corn flour is done, before going on into shaping, it just gets veined. It's still not, it's still wet. So once I've done the corn flour part, right? And then it goes on to the veiner like that. So the silicone veiners, talk about veiners, these are silicone veiners. When Omcraft is giving you, they give you together with the cutter set and the veiner. The veiners are available separately also, depending on whatever flower you're making. But if you're a beginner, you could just have one all-purpose veiner, which is like a common vein that you could use for any flower, doesn't matter. So they are flexible and then they are double-sided. So the bottom one will be a little bent, like it will have that shape, and then this is the top veiner. So you put the wafer paper after the portion and then the corn flour on both the sides is done. You lift that and then it comes on to this veiner and you place the top of the veiner and then you kind of press it well. You can see the veins are actually transferred because it is still flexible and not very hard yet. So once after this step, and that is when it goes to shaping. These are all veined, and then I figured out I just kind of missed that. So you make all the 6 like that, and so you have also veined wafer paper. That veining actually means wafer paper at that stage could take an impression. That is a takeaway from that particular tip. Maybe at that point of time, even if you have the texture rolling pin or something, which you could just roll on top of it, then a little bit, maybe not as deep as what fondant will take the texture, but this also could take the texture. And now this particular wafer paper, after the portion and the corn flour, you have the lace mats, then you could put this on the lace mat and then just run a rolling pin on top or just press it. Then that impression also comes on top of the wafer paper. So those are other different ways where you could use this particular technique, which is softening with portion, corn flour, and then it could take different impressions where you could just get a bit creative and then try and get the impression. For this particular flower, we are using the veiner to go on and then press to transfer the veins onto the petal. Then drying happens. So they will actually get as hard as this, but then a little bit flexibility is there, but the shape is getting held, right? So you could just go on and then dry them in a particular shape. And once that is done, then you just use it on the cake the way you want. Normal room. Nothing, the climate stuff and all, nothing really affects the wafer paper. No. Rice paper, see now this corn flour is happening, right? And immediately it just becomes a little controllable. We could just go on and then control. But rice paper, it just gets it. You don't have so much time to work. There is this corn flour step is not there. Corn flour doesn't work on that because now when you dip that rice paper in water, when you take what I do to make rice paper flowers, I cut the rice paper in petals. Okay, and then I also have wires, and then I also have the strips like the wafer paper using the rice paper itself. Now, once I dip the rice paper in water, it becomes flexible, right? After like 30 seconds or so, I gently take that from the water and then I put it in the shapers. Think of a simple shape like the apple carton. You line the apple cartons, right? You line the apple cartons with cling wrap. So it is easier for you to peel that later. So you place this rice paper on the apple carton, it holds the shape. Now again, put the wire and then another strip of rice paper. That also you should dip it in water and then make it like flexible. Put that rice paper strip on top of the wire. So wire gets attached and it will just hold the shape. So only the corn flour step is missed out. Dipping in water is there, cutting is there, strip is there, wire is there, all that remains the same. Now the next day, this takes like 4 hours to dry. Rice paper will take overnight. And the next day you remove, the rice paper petal will come together with the wire. And you tape it around like that. Now coloring, no? It's just water. There's no potion for that. Dipping the rice paper in water only happens. Now add the color in that water. So your wafer paper petals itself will turn into that color. So you have a pink or whatever color and then go on and then tape around. So that's the logic. No. Only because corn flour stuff is here, we are able to manage that. Rice paper is a little difficult. At least I haven't tried. But then cutting and all will just be a little brittle, but you can just go on and then manage to cut. And sometimes I even don't cut. I just make a 4 or 6. And then you have like wedges of the whole circle. So I don't have to waste. And I just go on and then dip and then make. So they are like random flowers. You don't have to call a specific name for rice paper. You just say rice paper flower and then make it look like a fantasy thing, and then that can go on the cake. Yes. Customers ask and then you have a problem, then dip this entire thing in or brush it with white compound. Melt the compound and then use the brush and then go on and then brush over this and then leave it on parchment paper or butter paper, and then that dries. And you poke that into the cake, and then if they're very specific, this is like at least non-toxic. You can poke it onto the cake, but if you think then there is a problem, then you can call it saying that it's been dipped and made edible safe before poking on the cake. So when they take it out, it's like the tape has not been touching the cake, but just the chocolate was touching. But doing a cling wrap and stuff, so it's like when they pull it out and the cling wrap stays in the cake, then you have a problem. At least if chocolate stays, it's like, it's fine. This is edible, wafer paper. Gum paste is edible only. Because all of it is whatever we can eat. And if people have problem calling, CMC is non-edible. But it is edible because that's been used for making ice creams at least years back. These days, the methods have changed. Yeah. Have you used Evaporex or alcohol? I have used alcohol, vodka. You could use Evaporex for a non-alcoholic substitute for the purpose of vodka that I had used.
What's the liquid you have used for the chef?
What's the liquid you've used to color? I have used Wafer Paper Potion. The recipe document will be uploaded for the online students as well. So there'll be a recipe document that will be uploaded to you. The recipe is given. Someone could read it for me. The quantity of the Wafer Paper Potion.
Edible glycerine, 1.5 teaspoon.
Edible glycerine, 1.5 teaspoon. Corn syrup, half teaspoon. Water, 2 tablespoons. This is the mixture we put together. It's like a liquid, and that is called the Wafer Paper Potion. Recipe will be given to you. Now you put that together, you have the clear liquid, and then you have clear wafer paper. You can add your gel colors, and then you have colored potion.
Is 4 hours the standard time to let them dry, or does it differ for different things?
Is 4 hours the standard time, or does it differ? It could differ, but then the moment you're going to lift it out, and then if it is going to hold the shape, then you're ready to go. Maybe it happens in 2 hours, then you're ready to tape. If in 4 hours it is still like going to keep moving like that, then you need more than that. So 4 hours is like an average time. You could see when the petal holds up like this and it's not like very flexible and then falling down, then you're ready to tape.
Will the tape leave color on the cake?
Tape leave color on the cake? No, the tape does not leave color on the cake.
Can we add fondant or wafer paper?
You can add as long as there is not much of a weight, and I don't see a purpose as of now to hold a fondant on top of the wafer paper. But I think technically, as long as it holds weight, you can add anything which is not moisture containing, right? So fondant, yes, you can add.
Can this portion be stored at home?
a portion in room temperature in like an airtight box, and then it can just be there because all the ingredients that are there, they are lying in their own bottles, like in your storage, and that should be the life thing of the potion also. So you can make as much and then have the clear liquid in your bottle and room temperature, and then take as much as you need and then keep coloring the the quantity that you want for every flower that you make. More questions? I haven't tried, but maybe we could do that. Yeah. That I haven't tried. I'll just leave it out and then try and plan and make this ahead of time and then tape it. Get the order immediately. You could try that, or just use like a hair dryer or something that is specific for these purposes, and just maybe put it on. But at least it is faster than gum paste, right? See, there is liquid in that we have added. We want the liquid to just evaporate as fast as possible. So even oven drying, we could try. There's no harm, like 100-degree, and then you could just put it out there together. But then the problem comes in when rolling pin has to go. Whatever you're using to dry that wooden roller. Yeah. Chapati. Roti thing. Paper thing. Yeah. The one that is inside of your tissue paper thing, that also could go. So anything that is oven safe, where you could just place this, that can go inside the oven, you could do it on 100 degrees, like maybe say try on like a 10-minute and a 20-minute, and see whenever it just is holding the shape, and then you're ready to take it out. Done? Okay. So thank you so much for the online guys as well, being there on a Sunday, watching this, and hope your Sunday was well spent. Thank you so much.